The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
At that time Jesus exclaimed, "I give praise to you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, for although you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned, you have revealed them to little ones. Yes, Father, such has been your gracious will. All things have been handed over to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son wishes to reveal him. Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart, and you will find rest for yourselves. For my yoke is easy and my burden light." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
So I'd like to present you with two scenarios that might require you to use a little bit of your imagination. So the first scenario, imagine that you are 10 years old. You got it? You're 10 years old, you're at school, you're running through the hall with a couple of friends. Now you know that there is a rule against running in the hallway, but you're caught up in the moment and you aren't really thinking about rules. You haven't decided to break the rule against running in the hall. You didn't sit down with your friends and say, let's consider there is a rule against running, and let's consider that it would be fun to go run through a hallway, and now let us agree together to go and run through a hallway and violate the rule. No, you just find yourself in the hallway and you're running. When all of a sudden you turn the corner and there's a teacher. And the teacher starts yelling, "Hey, stop, what the heck, what's wrong with you? You know you aren't supposed to run in the hall. You better get your act together right now. This is unacceptable. Now answer me right now, why are you running in the hall?" Well, stopped in your tracks, you look at your friends' blank faces, and none of you know the answer to that question. The rule against running is a wise and good rule. You could run into someone else and knock them down, hurting yourself and someone else. But for all of the ice cream in Texas, you couldn't really say why you were running at that moment. But humiliated and scolded by the teacher, you resolve never to get caught running in the hallway again, especially by this teacher. Okay, here's the second scenario. Imagine you and your friends, same group, same hallway, but this time you're walking through the hallway. When all of a sudden a teacher, different from the first scenario, stops you in the hall. Your heart rate quickens a bit as you wonder what you've done wrong this time. You were walking and yet stopped. Confusion abounds, and the look on your face and the faces of your friends indicates your confusion. The teacher asks, "Hey guys, what's the standard in our community regarding movement in the hallways?" You all answer, "Walk, don't run." "Yes, exactly," the teacher says. "And what were you all doing?" "Walking?" "Yes, exactly. I just wanted to stop you and say, great job. Enjoy the rest of your day." You notice yourself stand a little taller. You feel proud. You resolve then and there to try to do a good job for the rest of your life. Both strategies employed by the teachers are attempting to form and train young people to be safe and follow the standards that are set by communities. Both teachers want the same thing, sort of. In the short term, both teachers want students to walk, not run. But the second teacher has a much more significant goal in mind. The second teacher wants to have a lasting effect of formation that will inspire students to do good. The first teacher's strategy of shaming, scolding, denouncing will create young people who focus on the rules. What is permitted? What is forbidden? If there's not a rule written, then maybe it's permissible. All morality, according to this teacher, should have an accompanying rule. And without a specific and written rule, maybe it's permitted. So I know I've stretched these two scenarios to their breaking point, but let's keep going. Let's consider which teacher will the students respect more, feel trusted by, and want to emulate even. They will probably resent the first teacher, maybe even be tempted to take out this resentment on someone else. They have had power exercised over them, and they will pine for the day when they are empowered, and they get to make the rules, and they will get rid of this silly rule about not running. The second teacher has exercised authority, to be sure, but with a great generosity and magnanimity. The second teacher has built up, not destroyed. These students are likely to be formed by this teacher to become generous with their praise. Maybe not immediately, but they will not forget this moment when someone saw the goodness in them and shone a light on it for all to see. The first teacher forms the student to a rule at the possible cost of a relationship. The second teacher forms the student to a relationship, but not at the cost of the rule. The second teacher doesn't say, "Okay, great job, you all are so good, go run through the halls," just as a reward. No, the rule is maintained. But the formation takes place at the level of relationship between teacher and student. So now, put yourself in the shoes of the teachers. Which teacher had to work harder? Which teacher just made his job a lot more difficult? Which teacher will be avoided at all costs and thus damage the teacher-student relationship? The first, of course. The second teacher just made his job easier. There will be a time for correction and discipline, but these students will know this teacher cares about them and sees the goodness in them. And so we hear Jesus this morning. "Come to me, all who labor and are heavily burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I'm meek and humble of heart. My yoke is easy and my burden is light." The work of building the kingdom of God, that is a kingdom of justice and peace and love, can seem very, very difficult, especially in these times now. It can seem like an unmovable burden, a yoke that no person could bear. But let us take up Jesus' freely offered burden and notice the lightness of it. When you look for ways to build up, when you notice the good in a person. Jesus came to form a relationship with us, not establish a set of rules. This relationship will transform us and convert us. Rules confine, limit, cannot consider every way in which we choose to hate one another. Relationships heal, transform, reconcile. And if the relationship with Christ deepens, then we will become more like God, shining with generosity.